the Southern Ohio Farm Show. This is Gigi Neal of OSU Extension in Claremont County, Agricultural and Natural Resources Educator.
I'm James Morris, the Agricultural and Natural Resources and Community Development Educator for the Ohio State University Extension in Brown County.
And I'm Brooke Beam, the Ohio State University Extension Educator for Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Community Development in Highland County. And we will be your hosts for the Southern Ohio Farm Show.
Hi, I'm Pam Bennett, Horticulture Educator for Ohio State University Extension, and I would like to share with you how to keep your holiday poinsettia looking its best. The very first thing is to pick out a perfect poinsettia. When you go to a garden store to pick out a poinsettia, look for one that's nice and compact and has lots of color on it. Now, most people think that the red or the colored part is the flower. This is actually a bract or a modified leaf. The flower is the piece right here in the middle of these bracts. And if you look closely, you'll see these are just starting to open up. It should be in tight green bud or just beginning to bloom. If you look at a flower and there's no buds at all and there's just little tiny stubs, that means the bloom is complete, it's finished, and it won't last much longer in your home. So look for one that's nice and healthy, the bracts are nice and clean, and it has lots of good flowers just getting ready to open. When you leave the store, make sure they put a protective sleeve on it. Poinsettias do not tolerate cold temperatures. The foliage, the flowers, everything will drop if they get too cold. So put a protective sleeve on it in order to leave. When you're out doing your holiday shopping and you buy a poinsettia, make that the last thing on your list. You don't want it sitting in a cold car or even a hot car during the whole day. As soon as you get home, remove that protective sleeve and place it in a location that is away from drafts or a source of heat. If you have a place where it's near a door, for instance, and people are coming and going, that cold weather will cause the foliage and the bracts to drop quickly. Now, taking care of it is rather easy. You want to make sure it stays nice and moist. You don't want to overwater it, but you want the soil to kind of stay moist. The way I tell if it's moist or if it needs watered is just to kind of lift it and feel the weight of the pot. Right now, it's kind of heavy. If it gets a little bit lighter, I take it out of the sleeve or the decorative cover, put it in a tray of water or put it in the sink and just let it sit there for about an hour. The soil will soak up all that water, and again, you'll be able to feel that difference. You'll feel that weight. When it's finished watering, let it drain, then stick it back in your decorative cover. And then I also make sure I use this plastic drainage tray to protect my furniture and my floors from any kind of water that might seep out. Now, while some know that poinsettias may be toxic, you would have to consume an enormous amount in order to cause or have an ill effect on humans and animals. So therefore, they're safe to have in the home. The other thing about poinsettias is the breeding has been just absolutely incredible. In fact, Paul Ecke, a graduate of Ohio State University, is responsible for many of the poinsettia varieties that we see today. This particular one called Winter Rose has this nice rose-like flower shape. You can get all different colors like pinks and whites and variegated speckled colors. And you can also get something like this purple one or a yellow or an orange one. Now, these oddball colors are dyed. There's actually sprayed with a dye, and in this one you also see a little bit of sparkles on it. Today you can get just about any color, any variety of poinsettia imaginable. So there you go, tips on how to enjoy your poinsettia for the holiday season.
Hi, I'm James Morris, and today I'm going to be talking about two benefits of utilizing cover crops. One that is very commonly misunderstood and one that is commonly underestimated. So the first benefit, and the one that I believe is most commonly misunderstood with cover crops, is the ability of legumes to fix nitrogen and the relationship with rhizobia bacteria. So we look at this soybean plant, for example, and if you take a look at this plant, along the roots, you'll see all those sphere-like structures along the roots. Those are the nodules that are formed from those rhizobia bacteria that have attached to these root hairs and made this plant, this soybean plant, its host. Now, once that happens, that's when this soybean plant begins to receive that nitrogen from these bacteria, but not without a cost. So this soybean plant actually will provide that rhizobia bacteria with carbohydrates and energy in order to make that nitrogen. And in return, this is where the symbiotic relationship comes in, that bacteria supplies the soybean plant with nitrogen. Now, it's often thought that legumes are considered lazy, but I like to think that they're very intelligent, because if fertilizer is applied for free, then of course they're going to use that because it requires less energy than it would if they had to supply the rhizobia bacteria the energy to make it. But what's often misunderstood is what happens to that nitrogen once it's fixed. So we look at soybeans that we saw can average about 100 pounds of nitrogen fixed per acre per year. And in comparison, crimson clover can average about 80 pounds of nitrogen fixed per acre per year. So often we think that these plants growing next to these legumes are going to receive that 80 to 100 pounds of nitrogen per acre. Actually, that's not the case. Most of the nitrogen that is being fixed is being returned right back into the plant that's fixing it. So where we get the direct benefit from is actually that plant that's going to be returned back to the soil, and those plant parts that's containing that fixed nitrogen is being incorporated back into the soil where it can decompose. Now, not 100% of that nutrient will be returned back, but more so than if we would compare, for example, a soybean crop. If you think about harvesting soybean, we're taking a lot of that grain, a lot of that material, and there's not a whole lot of residue left on the field. So we're removing a lot of those plant parts that actually had that nitrogen contained from where it had fixed it.
So the second benefit of cover crops that we're going to talk about is the reduction in soil erosion. So as we take a look here at this container that I have my hand on, you can see there's grass and clover growing in this mix, and this is just a mix from a lawn that we scooped up a shovelful and put it here in this plastic container. Now, as you can tell, as this would rain, we're going to slow down those rainfall droplets to reduce the amount of splashing that's occurring and slow down the speed of those raindrops hitting the soil surface. But also we're going to allow that rain and that water work its way down through the soil profile instead of running across the top, which is what we expect will occur in just a bare soil. So let's take, for example, at the end of the year, we take off our soybeans and our corn. We don't have a whole lot of residue typically left over if we're not planting anything back. Now you can see there's a few weeds growing in this soil, which again was used, the same type of soil that was used out of my lawn, and it actually has some roots growing in it. There was grass growing in it, same as crops would be, but this is an area that had died off throughout the summer. So we're going to compare a rainfall event on the bare soil versus a living cover soil. So now we'll just simulate a rainfall here, and we're just using a watering can that would pretty much simulate a rainfall. So as we dump water into this, you can see there's nothing running down this tube just yet, which we'll just kind of, in this case, imagine that this is our ditch, right? So we're getting rainfall in the field, but we're not seeing much of an effect going down through the ditch yet. Now you can see that water beginning to run down through the field, a little muddy. But as we come over here to the bare soil, we water this one, and almost immediately you'll start to see water run out of it much quicker than you would with the grass-covered soil. And hopefully you'll be able to tell a very large difference in the amount of dirt and soil that is being washed into the streams. So now as we compare the two fields, again, over here on this side is the bare soil, and then over here is the grass covered soil. So if we take a look at the two containers here, so let's say this is a body of water that this ditch is running into, we can take a look here and you can see how much more sediment is in this container compared to the soil. We still have some murky water, but we don't see as much sediment actually floating around in the bottom of that. So on this side, you can take a look, you can see a lot of the mud, but there's a lot of sediment in there as well. You can see a lot of that sediment. As compared to this container here, we have murky water, but less soil particles that actually washed off into the field. So thanks for watching, and hopefully this helps demonstrate how some of these benefits actually work. We talk a lot about these benefits, but a lot of times until we can actually see a comparison, and I know this is very small scale, but sometimes until we see that comparison side by side, it's really hard to imagine that in our heads on just how much these benefits will actually help. So again, hopefully this helps you understand how these work and how they can benefit your farm.
Next, we visit with the Fairfield FFA, where we learn more about a unique project that they have implemented this past year by planting a 5-acre soybean plot. Tell us about what is unique about this project that you did with your students. Are there other FFA chapters doing similar things?
There are other FFA chapters that do similar things. I feel like we're one of the few here close by locally that has the kids actually out able to be on the equipment and doing some studies in the fields, that kind of stuff. I know some others have those, but they're more vocationally driven, like a career center or something like that, as opposed to an actual high school that's out doing it. I know some other schools have plots, but not as many students are able to be involved in it. So we received 5 acres from the school board. They set 5 acres aside up here at the school that used to be an old soccer field and some old set aside ground. And we were able to go in and plant a bean plot that we could use with our students to practice calculating yield, see harvesting equipment. You know, most of the students that have been interviewed today do not physically live on a farm. You know, they're not around combines and tractors and stuff on a regular basis. You know, they were thrilled to death when they got to go out that day when we harvested and ride in a combine and see how it all worked. So it's providing a lot of opportunities that these students may not otherwise get through our program. And along with that, you know, most of the kids that we have in our program aren't even, I guess, what you would say farm kids anymore. They don't live on a farm. Some of them have agricultural experiences, but physically living on the farm and operating, helping with its daily operation doesn't necessarily happen. They may work for a farmer and help out some here and there, or have some chickens in the backyard. But a lot of our students actually live in towns or little subdivisions where they don't have a lot of hands-on experience.
As this whole process, what do you think that the take-home message was for your class as a whole?
The take-home one is the amount of work that goes into it. You know, we've been out there on a weekly basis checking beans, you know, estimating what yield would be while the beans were still growing, with a crop insurance agent, to doing the math on the other side of the combine, calculating what our actual yield was, how much money we would receive, to the point of going out a couple days after the combine went through and seeing how many beans were left on the ground behind, and say, okay, if the combine had actually got every bean, this is what we have, but we lost this much due to shatter, or it got knocked down, or the moisture was low, so they actually blew out the back of the combine, and calculating how many bushel per acre we lost on the other side. It's just a great way to give these kids more experiences to learn that they may not otherwise get.
What did you learn throughout this whole process?
We've learned like how to calculate yield. We've studied moisture. I've learned a lot about harvesting and stuff. Like I don't live on a farm or anything. This has just helped me get to know like more stuff about harvesting and things about fields.
Kind of funny that the fact that it takes so long just to do. Like we only had 5 acres, but it wasn't, you know, just real quick and easy.
I learned that first year farms don't always succeed like farmers always want them to, and there's always going to be different spots in every field that are going to have different production rates.
So seeing as you have an agricultural background and some of your other classmates have not, what do you think that, you know, this is probably the first experience that they've had in agriculture, and how do you think that benefits folks that have both an ag background and those who do not?
I think it shows them more of what goes on instead of just seeing the equipment out in the field and seeing a planter go through and then pops up and get through and harvest. I think it kind of showed them of what with the seed, what happens, what you have to do to prepare for the seed, and then what you have to do to basically raise the seed up to a crop that you can harvest and get money from.
I'd like to thank the farmers that helped us do it, and just it was a fun experience.
Well, the whole process has been, we've had a lot of sponsors involved to make it happen. And fortunately to no major expenses to the kids or the program. We had some wonderful folks at Pioneer that are here local, Jason Davis, Troy Beckman, or not Troy Beckman, Troy Putnam, that jumped in from Pioneer and got seed donated for us. Troy came out later and worked with the kids and talked to them about their specific variety of bean as far as the enlist beans and moisture in the field and the factors that really go into raising a crop. We had to get a parking lot built actually off the side, so we had some place to pull in off 771. So we had people like Dusty Frost and Jason Beckman that come in and got gravel laid and culverts in across the ditch. Had to work with ODOT to actually get a permit to put the culvert in the ground. Davis Farms, Ken Davis and Evan Davis had a pan that they come out and actually scrape the topsoil off where we needed the parking lot. We had local farmers that brought post drivers in so we could put a barrier around so they didn't drive out on the Little League soccer fields that were next to it. Numerous people, Nutrient Ag Services out of Sabino with Tyler Campbell had come and sprayed and fertilized. Jimmy Craycraft was very instrumental in helping with getting the beans planted and as a school board member, getting the whole project rolling. Hatton Farms with Fred Hatton come out and helped us harvest. So the community as a whole has really come and stepped up behind this project. And I hate to start, I really shouldn't have started listing names because I probably ended up forgetting someone, but the community has really come together. The administration of the school has really come together to support this project and make it happen.
That's wonderful that you had the support of the community to really make this thrive for the students, because it's a great experience for them to learn.
Absolutely.
Is there a plan to continue this for the future?
Yes, we are planning to do this every year. We like to do some crop rotation, and they are planting cover crop, or they have already planted a cover crop this year. So they are ready just to continue every year and see how things go and see how much profit we can make off of this.
Hello, I'm Ken Ford. I'm the Ag and Natural Resource Educator in Fayette County, and I have my sidekick with me today, Luke Ford. And Luke, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, as you said, my name is Luke. I go to Triad and I play sports, including wrestling and cross country in the summer. So, let's get started.
All right. Today we're going to make a family favorite. How many of these did you get used to eat when your older brothers were home?
I was lucky to get one.
We have 2 older boys, and then we still have 2 boys at home. So these were usually went really fast. Luckily, they're easy to make, and that's why we wanted to share that with you today. It takes just a few simple ingredients. We use just regular creamy peanut butter. We have butter, and then powdered sugar, little vanilla, and then we use chocolate, melting chocolates that we'll put as part of the recipe as well. So to get started, we put everything on this side of the pan. We put into the mixer, and we try to get that to a Play-Doh consistency. So we'll work on that and see how that goes. So to get started, we're going to put our first ingredient in, which is peanut butter. And this is just creamy peanut butter, and it takes the whole 16-ounce jar, so it's easy to measure it out. You don't have to do anything other than just get it in your bowl for your mixer.
And then while Dad is putting the peanut butter and the ingredients in the mixer, I am going to start placing the cups, little Reese cups, in the tray, and just gonna line the whole thing.
All right, we now have all of our peanut butter in our our mixing bowl. Looks like Luke has got all of the little cups ready to put our peanut butter and chocolate in when we get to that point. So anything else at this point?
No, and a quick tip, if you want, you can save these and organize like crafting needles or like anything really. Just clean these screws, nails in the garage. That's what we use them for, so you can always recycle.
All right, well, Luke, why don't you go ahead and put the butter in the mixer, and then we'll continue on with our recipe here.
All right, so we're using the whole stick of the butter.
Yep.
And this is just...
It's just regular butter, softened, and so it should hopefully mix really well. All right, so our next ingredient would be to go ahead and put the powdered sugar in. Just get this kind of cleaned off a little bit so we can do the powdered sugar. Let's go ahead and mix this so that it'll be somewhat mixed, don't you think?
Yeah. Here,
right.
Wait.
Okay. Might help if we had electricity. All right, we'll go ahead and mix this. All right, Luke, do you want to slowly add the powdered sugar in?
All right.
Try not to make a mess.
Oh.
Just slowly but surely.
Whoa.
Whoa. All right. Just make sure you clean up before your wife gets home. All right, so we've now got our 2.5 cups of powdered sugar in. We've got our peanut butter in here and our butter. So it's got a pretty good consistency to it. Luke, let's go ahead and continue to mix, and can you add the vanilla in?
Yeah.
And we'll finish up our peanut butter mixture for the inside of our butter cups, peanut butter cups. All right. So stir this up really good. All right. We'll go ahead and we'll get this out of off the mixer. And now comes the fun part. You have to roll out the little balls. Think we can do that?
I hope.
All right, well, after a little bit of cleanup and putting some things away so we can have a little better surface here, our next project, or next part of the project, our project is to use our melting chocolates, and we need to put a little bit in the bottoms of our cups before we go ahead and put our peanut butter mixture in. So we'll take a couple minutes here. This is really simple. We just have a Pyrex bowl. And Luke, if you want to put this in the microwave, and we'll start out with like 2 minutes and see how we get along. So after we've had it in there for almost a minute and a half, and we're just going to stir it up a little bit to kind of get it to as it starts to melt, and looks like we need to put it back in for a little bit more and see how we get along here.
While Dad is finishing up melting the chocolate, I put the peanut butter mixture in the fridge while we are like cleaning and doing all that, so that it has some time to harden before we have to roll it later.
Okay, we're now ready to put a little bit of chocolate in the bottom of each of our little cups. And this is a little trick that we found along the way that helps to do that a lot easier. We're going to put some of our chocolate in this little 99-cent squeeze bottle that you can buy at any local store that has cake supplies or any kind of baking supplies. It works really easy. Luke, you're ready to put some chocolate in the bottom of each cup. You just take the little squirt bottle. There you go. Just kind of make a little circle around there, and that's perfect. Just keep going right down the line. Look at that. Just make a nice little nest there for our peanut butter cups to, our peanut butter rolls to lay on. While Luke is working on getting the chocolate in the bottom of the cups, I'm going to go ahead and start with some of our peanut butter balls so we can start filling up our cups here. It's good to kind of use a little bit of powdered sugar to kind of put on your hands to keep the peanut butter from sticking. You just need almost about a half to 3/4 of a tablespoon of peanut butter, and you just roll it around. It's like we did as kids when you played with Play-Doh, and just make a little ball out of it. And then take your ball, and now it's still a little big. There we go. Just place that in there. All right, so as you can see, we've gotten all of our peanut butter balls made and put into our cups. And at this point now, Luke is going to continue to fill up the cups with our melted chocolate. And this might be a little slower process, but it's definitely a lot less mess and a lot more easier to control. And even if the chocolate starts to get a little hard, you can stick it in the microwave for a few seconds, and it'll melt just enough to continue on. But we really haven't had any problems with making this work. All right, so we've got a few of them done here, but we want to go back, and before it gets set up too tight, we want to just tap it. And we do have one here, for example, that looks like needs just a little bit more chocolate to kind of cover up our peanut butter ball. We got a little bit bigger one there. But for the most part, they look pretty good. Got any suggestions, Luke? Everything doing okay?
Yeah.
So we've finished our tray of peanut butter cups. We've tapped it a couple more times, made sure we got all the air bubbles out of it. This is just a very small tray. This recipe actually will make about 4 times this many peanut butter cups. Our family likes to do a little tray at a time because it's a lot less taxing, and everybody seems to do a little better job of paying attention to the details. So we put the peanut butter mixture in the refrigerator, and tomorrow evening or the next night we can pull it out and do a few more, and basically by the holiday season we'll probably go through 5 or 6 trays of these. So you got anything else, Luke?
Not really.
We would like to take this opportunity to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas, and from the Ford family here, we hope that you have a Happy New Year.
Wear your mask.